Please welcome to the stage the host of Bossy, Tara Reid.
Hello. Hi, y'all. So here's the thing, because starting a business, it feels like piloting a plane that you know you have no business flying. But the idea in your head, the business idea, just keeps nagging you. You want to create a little bit more freedom for yourself. You want to use your brain in a different, more productive way. You want to solve a problem and innovate, maybe disrupt your industry. You want to do all of these things, and to be honest, at the beginning, you kind of have to be a little bit delusional to do it. Because who in their right mind would put themselves through this kind of roller coaster? It's us, the small business owners. And the roller coaster, girl, the roller coaster is no joke, because first you think the funding is gonna come through and then it doesn't. And then the customer, they're right about to sign the contract and then it doesn't go through, but then the next day you get another customer, so it's okay. And the article that they wrote about you, you thought that it was gonna bring you all kinds of customers and it didn't really do that. And then they added the tariffs and the economy changed. And it felt like this plane that you were riding and you're like, oh no, it's gonna crash. No, I got it. What in the world are we doing? We're gonna talk about all of that today, what it's like to run a small business in this economy, and particularly how to integrate technology into your business to help you grow. So we're gonna do this event today in 3 parts. So as you already know, this event is sponsored by AT&T Business. In part 1, I'm gonna have someone from the AT&T Business team come up and talk about what they're seeing out in the market for small business owners actually integrating technology in their business, what's working, what's not working, where people are innovating, where things are hard. And then in part 2, I'm gonna have 2 badass CEOs come up onto the stage to talk with me about running their business. One of them has been running a business for several years. The other is running a business that's been around for decades. And so we're gonna get 2 different perspectives of what it's like to run companies right now. And then in part 3, I'm gonna have you guys meet each other. We're gonna share what's working and not working for all of us and do some networking. That's the agenda. Cool? Okay. So let's get started, and welcome to the Boss House. This episode is sponsored by AT&T Business. Working with them has really made me think about all of the ways that technology impacts my company as a small business owner. So my team is fully remote. We're spread across 6 different locations, and we really rely a lot on remote working tools to stay connected. So we use things like payroll services and compliance tools, video conferencing, project management software. These remote work tools are literally what keeps us all on the same page as we run the company. Visit att.com/y-att-business to see how they can help you leverage better tech to boss up your business. So to get us started, I'm gonna have Angela in a moment come up onto the stage. Now, Angela Muñiz Rutherford is the VP of AT&T Business Connectivity Sales. So she works with a lot of small businesses to get them internet service, phone service, and a bunch more. And the internet service, the phone service is not just to be cute. It allows all these businesses to have things like QR codes in their business, or to run Slack for their team to connect, or to process payments, all that stuff. And so Angela's had numerous different leadership positions at AT&T Business, but they've all given her perspective of what's working and what's not working, what's innovative for small businesses. And I'm really excited to have Angela up onto the stage. Give her a round of applause. Angela, welcome to Bossy. Oh, that rug is tricky. Yeah, I told you gotta be careful on that thing. You did great, Okay.
I didn't fall, it's good. It's good.
She's in one piece. All right, so I wanna jump right into this conversation because today we're gonna talk a lot about implementing technology for small businesses, and you get to see a lot about what's working and what's not working. What would you say are some top tech trends that small businesses really need to pay attention to right now?
Yeah, we're in an era where technology is an absolute game changer. And when I think about trends, the first thing that comes to mind is AI and automation. You can't go anywhere today without hearing AI. And the funny thing is that AI has been around since like the 1950s. It's been around forever, but it has grown exponentially in the last couple of years, and will continue to do so as far as we can see into the future. So when I think about that trend for small businesses, I think about things like smart tools that do the basic things, the tedious tasks, the repetitive tasks that a lot of us have to do. And so when you think about that, examples are data entry, data analytics, scheduling, chatbots for customer service, customer support, training. Think of things like inventory management and forecasting. All of these, there's tools out there that can help with all these tasks and many more. And the best part is that a lot of these tools are affordable, they're off the shelf, they're easy to implement. But technology it's a game changer.
Yeah, I think you were talking about like AI being around for a while, and that's certainly true. Then I think ChatGPT has really made it accessible, whether that's like plugging in that technology into something that you're already doing, or just like going to search something, having someone on your team go look up and create the plan before they ask you as the business owner. All of that stuff is really useful. So I'm hearing you say like AI automation, that's like a top trend area. I heard you say like customer engagement, like talking to customers, chatbots, and then maybe like some insights around data.
Yeah, data insights, data analytics, creating better customer experiences for the small business customers. There's so many options out there, Tara. It's fun.
Okay, so I want to kind of put this into some practical example then, and maybe you can tell us some examples of how you're working with or recently have worked with through AT&T Business, some small business owner use cases and like what they're doing, how they're using AT&T Business. Yeah,
I've got a few examples with some businesses that are here local in Dallas. So I'll take the first one, a hair salon. Here in Dallas, they wanted to be able to provide a better customer experience to their clients. And that experience was through online scheduling. You no longer have to call. You can go online, schedule your haircut, your color, whatever it is that you need to do. They use our connectivity for that scheduling, and they're using, that's a great example of AI and automation.
And when you say connectivity, you mean internet access?
Internet access, yes. Another example is a gym. They, here local in Dallas, they have door readers and check-in devices for when one of their members goes in to check in for a fitness class. And so they use our internet, our connectivity for that. And because they have those devices, they can now they have data insights that they can use to make decisions about offers and specials and when to schedule their classes. Another great example of how automation can make a difference. And one more example? One more example is a boutique that uses our internet access. They do a lot on social media. Like, I think we all do a lot on social media, but the cool thing that they do on social media is they have live selling events. And so imagine, a live selling event on our internet access. That's a really important thing for them. So 3 great examples of how technology is a game changer for some local small businesses here in Dallas.
Live selling event meaning that like they go on Instagram Live or something like that, and people can buy. Let me show you the
latest merchandise that's on sale. Yeah.
Smart. Okay. I'm thinking about the gym example that you gave, and I'm imagining what goes wrong when you don't have sort of internet connection. I'm imagining like people can't like get in, and so you want to make sure that you have really strong connectivity, really strong internet, because if people are scanning to actually enter your business, that's a really critical thing. I imagine that when you talk to business owners and they come to you and they say, maybe we're switching internet providers or we're setting up something anew, there's like a thing that they're trying to avoid. Right, there's an element of risk management as a business owner. There's like stuff you don't want to go wrong. What are the things that people are coming to you, business owners, and saying, we want to avoid this happening, so that's why we're coming to you?
Yeah, every business has a goal or a thing that they're trying to solve for or be different or expand, whatever that thing is. It's unique to the business, but the one thing that is the common denominator in almost every single customer we talk to is I can't have any downtime. And like the example you just gave with the gym, think of a coffee shop at 8 a.m. in the morning to probably one of the busiest times, lines out the door, and they go to scan the first card for the coffee they're trying to sell, and that connectivity is down and they can't scan a card. Raise your hand if you've got cash on you right now. I don't remember the last time I carried. I think I saw like 3 or 4 hands.
I lose it if I carry it. Like it's just not, it doesn't exist in my brain. Yeah, it's not good.
And so that on that particular day, they're not going to make money. They're either going to give away free coffee or they're not going to be able to charge for the coffee or both, which neither one is a good solution. So connectivity is really important. It's an essential service.
On top of that, I barely even carry my card anymore. I just tap my phone.
Yes.
So that's even like another side of this.
Well, great example. Let me ask you a question. If you drove to work and forgot your wallet, would you turn around and get it?
Absolutely not. I intentionally leave it sometimes.
If you left your mobile phone at home, would you go back and get it?
The second, like I can feel when it's not on me,
right?
It like feels far away. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like you feel your phone far away?
Yeah.
I can feel it's gone.
Yeah.
Connectivity
is a big deal.
Yeah, 100%. That makes sense. I was thinking about like a month ago, there was like this AWS outage. I don't know if you guys saw that happen, right? Like the Snapchat was down, Reddit was down, Slack was down, the Starbucks app was down, like all these things that were powered by AWS were down. And I think it made all of us think about the infrastructure technology a little bit more, right? Like the thing that you're powered on, and of course your internet connection is an infrastructure technology in a way, like you're powered by it. When that happened, the very first thing that I did, which I had to do via email because Slack was down, so I couldn't Slack it, was be like, are the payment pages still working? Is the sales team, do they have what they need? Okay, now let me go check with each of the other teams, but I checked with sales first, and I imagine that there's something that like business owners are thinking about their internet of like, is the tap payment processor, is that still up? Is that still running? But there's a couple core pieces of technology you need to have.
Absolutely, point of sale is
the
important.
one. It's the one.
There's no more knuckle breaker credit card. You remember those things? Like
barely,
a long time
girl.
ago? Yeah.
Barely.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're in a museum, I think.
That's right. They got them somewhere in the Museum of Technology. Okay, so I think as a business owner, there's really 2 different ways that technology becomes important. So there's the day-to-day operations of just like the stuff you have to do. But then, like, we're all really getting pulled into having to think about innovation in the business, like new stuff to do. Really, AI has really caused us all to like figure out like how are we gonna not get our butt kicked by changing time and actually like have something innovative. So there's the day-to-day stuff, and then there's like what's the new innovation things. How can small businesses like balance the fact that there's juggling both of these things? You got to do the day-to-day stuff with technology, but you also have to start thinking about new innovation.
Yeah, and it can get overwhelming pretty fast, right?
Yeah.
And so the best thing I can say there is don't boil the ocean. Keep it simple. Be open to trying new things. Start small, experiment. Just try different things, but don't feel like you have to take on every single option, trend, everything that's out there. Just find the one thing that will make the biggest difference in your business and start there.
Yeah, I personally feel a lot of pressure around both AI and social media content. Like those are the both areas where it feels like you have to do it now increasingly to just like be able to run your business day to day. And I've been thinking about the importance of having like streamlining my focus, like you're saying, around having a quarterly or an annual bet for the business. Have y'all ever done that? Like you have like a quarterly or annual bet for the business, for your small business? I see a few yeses, some nos. Like right now, I'm asking myself, like, what's the number one bet I have that's gonna make my business grow in 2026? That's like how I'm framing the question. So for me, I'm thinking about like, I bet, my answer to that is like, I bet that we will grow most in 2026 by focusing on like larger customers and deal sizes. That's like the bet that I have for my business this year, and then I can go communicate that with my team. But it's helpful to, as the business owner, you have to get clear first. If you're not clear, then like nobody else is clear. And so some of my past bets have been like, okay, I bet that if we double down on partnerships instead of just doing ads, we'll grow more. Or I bet that if we focus more on customer retention instead of like constant acquisition, that's gonna be the bet for this year. So I try to always have like a bet for the year and then maybe like some sub bets for the quarter. And I want to invite y'all, as we're talking about like focusing here, I want to invite you guys into this conversation. You can do this activity for if you run your own small business, your own business. If you work at a business, you can still do this for like what you think the business that you work for should be doing. So there's two parts to this, and actually I think you have a piece of paper on your chair for this activity. There's two parts to the question, and I'm gonna have you in a second like turn to someone next to you and share your answer to this. So the first question is, what is the number one bet that you'll make to grow your business in 2026? If you work at a company, it's like, what's the bet that you think the company should make to grow the business in 2026? And then the second part of the question is, we're talking about AI and technology, is like, which of the following options do you think AI could most help? If you use AI, would like most help that bet succeed? Does that make sense? And I gave you some options like customer service, right? Like AI to reply to messages, or like marketing and content, like it's gonna draft your marketing content, you can use AI for that, or sales leads, like evaluating which leads are the ones to focus on before you start talking to everybody, or operations, like handling repetitive tasks, maybe looking at financial insights, creating business plans for yourself, customer insights. So I'm gonna give you a second to do this. Turn to the person next to you. Share your answer, your thoughts on like what's the number one bet you could make to like grow your business or your company should make. And which of these things, if you had to pick one, do you think AI would most further? Go for it. Okay, I'm gonna pull your attention back for a second. But as I mentioned, we're gonna have some networking time, so I'm intentionally putting in some seeds of sparks of good conversations you can continue to have in our next segments. But I like to make things interactive so that it's not just academic, you're actually talking about what this tactically looks like for you. And so I want to continue this conversation because sometimes I think it's possible for a business owner to think about AT&T and think like, oh, it's just for like a big company, it's big enterprise, it's not for my small business. And so I'm curious, like, what are the different services that might be unique for a small business to come to you and say, we'd like to sign up for this thing? Like, what is it that they're coming to you for?
Well, first let me say we are here for all business. Of all sizes, the startup that started today with one person in the garage all the way up into enterprise business. But what makes us unique for a small business is that we're a one-stop shop for all things 5G, all things fiber. We make it easy, we make it affordable, we make it simple for our customers, and it's on the fastest, most reliable network in America. And so that makes us what I like to think special, because think of like, let's go back to the coffee shop example. Whether it's one location or 50 locations, we'll sit down with you. We will analyze what your needs are, what your goals are. We will figure out what the right level of connectivity is. It could be a simple internet connection, or it could be an internet connection that connects 50 locations and makes all of the 50 locations operate as one location. And on top of that, we can also help with any mobile devices, any mobility needs that a business would need.
Yeah, and even if like I can have like a central phone number
yes,
for like all of my
absolutely.
team, so you call that one phone number, it then goes to our mobile devices.
And a call never gets missed.
That's right.
Got
it. Okay, and then as I expand the 50 locations, maybe if I want different numbers for different departments and all my team has their phones and we have internet across all of those, I can just scale.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we would take care of your unique needs.
If you look 3 to 4 years down the road, what would you say are the biggest opportunities where like small businesses can really like innovate and get an edge?
Yeah, well, AI and automation is not going to stop.
Yeah.
It's going to continue to evolve. It's going to get bigger. It's going to get more smart, I guess, smarter.
Yeah.
And so small businesses need to lean into that. Think about all the examples that I used before and taking these tools and using them to provide unique customer experiences, building loyalty. The one thing that if I do this, the humans in my business can go focus on high impact activities, high impact work, and let the machine do the tedious basic tasks, right? So leaning into that and embracing the trend is really going to be important.
Yeah, the hyper-personalization piece is really interesting to me. I run a services business. We build software for customers. And one of the things that we integrated with AI is like when you come to our homepage of the website, we know that there's like a handful of things people need to know and already be clear on before they have a sales conversation with someone on our team. And so we have these tools that sort of help them in our style, right, generate the idea that they want to pursue, the app idea, the software idea, but also frame it into like the three most important like functionality that it needs to have, and also have a clear idea of what the business model is. And we know that if someone has those three things clear, we can then have a conversation with them, and if they don't, then it's not a good use of the sales team's time. And so we created this sort of experience for customers with the hyper-personalization of it's like these recommendations just for you, and we've been playing around with things like that.
That's awesome.
And I think we're all trying to figure out how to innovate to get people to bridge the gap in a way. But I also think it's really interesting to position our businesses around things that like AI can't do. So one of the things that we found is like the concept of having your hand held through an experience and having someone like talk to you through the experience is really valuable to our customers. And we're using more of that language because it's stuff that AI doesn't do as well, like having you like really holding your hand and you feel like you have a person to talk to. I'm frustrated, I'm not really sure about this part, I don't really know. And so I think there's something interesting too about like as businesses are innovating around how you talk about things that are not as technology centered. That's been something that I've been like seeing as a trend as well.
Yes, and it's such an interesting AI. It's fascinating, and the bigger you think, and the more willing you are to try different things. I think small businesses that do that will do really well.
Okay, so if you could, to close this out, if you could give us a piece of advice, one piece of advice that every small business owner listening should be taking and implementing, what would that piece of advice be?
Embrace the trends. If you do not embrace this technology, these tools, you will be left behind. That's the reality we're faced with today. Start small, pick the one thing that makes the biggest impact on your business and start there. But embrace the trend or you will be left behind.
Yeah, okay, I love this. I want to give y'all a moment. I cut you off earlier. You were deep in conversation. I cut you off earlier, so I'm gonna give you some time to kind of go back to the conversation before we move on to the next panel, the next conversation. I'm gonna have two business leaders come up. And so I'd like for you to turn back to the partners, folks that you were talking to. If you wanna work in little groups, you can. And either continue the activity that you just were working on if you didn't get a chance to finish. If you already finished, share with your partner, like, what's one go-do? Sometimes when I'm listening to conversations, even if the go-do was already in the back of my head, it sparked. They're like, oh yeah, I definitely need to go do this, or have my team, we need to have this conversation. So if you didn't finish the activity, you can finish the activity. If you did, share one go-do that you're gonna go do based on this conversation, and we will be right back with part 2. Angela, thank you so much.
Thank you, my pleasure, my pleasure.
We're gonna move to a panel conversation with some business leaders, CEOs, and I wanna introduce them both to you. They are both rock stars. So the first person who's gonna come up is Daisha Board. She is a visionary, and she is the founder of Daisha Board Gallery, where she champions artists of color, queer artists, women artists. And when I told folks that I was coming to Dallas to talk about small businesses and business owners, like 5 people told me that I should talk to Daisha. She came heavily recommended. And word on the street is that she is Dallas excellence personified. I've had so much of a good time talking with her and understanding kind of her business and how she runs her business. Now, I've given her a job too, as we have this conversation. I've dubbed her Chief Realness Officer. And so she's gonna really keep it real with us about the experience of building a business. She's been running her company for 4 years now. Give a round of applause to Daisha Board. Here's Daisha. And the second person that I'm going to have come up is Mina Haque. So she is the CEO of Tony Roma's, which is a restaurant that's been around for decades. And Mina has one of those careers that really makes you rethink what is possible. As I've talked to her, I've been like, what? Huh? You did what? She started her own law firm, and a client came to her saying, I want to buy Tony Roma's, and she helped do that deal as the lawyer. And then she got invited to actually be the CEO once he acquired Tony Roma's, not just like a franchise, the whole brand. Asked to become a CEO of the business, and she was like, yeah, I'll do it, but I'd like to make sure that I've got this on my own terms. I'm gonna still run my own company, and I will also take the CEO role. So I have dubbed Mina, I've given her a role here for us. She's like, Chief, I do it my own way, officer. And I'm really excited to have her come up. Mina, welcome to Bossy. Okay, Red. Yeah. Okay, so for many businesses, 2026 is not the time to scale. The reality is that there's a time to scale, there's a time to maintain, there's a time to contract. None of those are positive or negative, they're just real parts of the business. Daisha, are you currently in an expansion season or a contraction season? Someone told me that like you had moved to a different gallery, kind of. What season are you in?
All the seasons, really.
Right.
I am in a contraction season. I downsized the gallery from a 7,000 square foot space back down to a more consultant role. But that was really strategic. I kind of forecasted what was going to happen within our art market last year. And so although I just did it this year, we planned for it. But I love the more streamlined ability to work direct one-on-one with my clients.
So you had started with a gallery that was like a particular size, and then you moved to a bigger one at some point. And then you scaled back. Tell us sort of that trajectory and what happened there.
Very ambitious. You know, I'm from Queens, from New York, so like we do it and we ask questions later. So I had a 1,000 square foot space, which was our original flagship location. We did very well within our 2 years. Our profit margin was great. You know, we did at least $250,000 in sales first year, $500,000 our second year. So I was ready to go big or go home.
Yeah.
So I went into a 7,000 square foot space.
You 7X the space.
Yes, and the rent.
right.
Real talk. But 2024, 25, this year, the market is changing. You know, collectors aren't buying how they were buying 3 years ago, and people's sense of urgency to purchase a luxury item just isn't there. And so I had to reevaluate what my clients really wanted out of the business, and they want more of me. They want more of one-on-one. And I couldn't be at the gallery 24/7. You know, I couldn't be there every day because I was working other areas of building my business. And to have a smaller, more consultancy focus on my core clients and partnerships is really what I needed, not only just for the business scale, but my own mental health.
For so many service businesses, that actually is a great solution for like, how do we scale back and do more profit? Like, people want connection to you, and it's a thing that like we are told, like, as you gotta like scale and like move yourself out of the business, you gotta be out of the role. But sometimes in a contraction period, you almost do the opposite. You kind of pull back a little bit to move forward. So that makes a lot of sense. Mina, I know that at one point Tony Roma's had hundreds of locations. I think now you guys have like 42, something like that. What's been the story of expansion and contraction for Tony Roma's as a business?
So Tony Roma's has been around since 1972. So this business has been around for over 5 decades now. And it started in Miami in 1972. Tony Roma's used to be huge here in Dallas. It used to be owned by the Dallas Cowboys. And we used to have hundreds of units. And my predecessors, at some point, I had many predecessors in the 5 decades history, decided that because of the popularity of the brand, we can expand globally. So Tony Roma's entered into some markets very early on, and I'll give you an example. We are seeing a lot of American companies entering Saudi Arabia now. Tony Roma's entered back in 2006. So there were a lot of early entries and then subsequently also exits. So from Tony Roma's experience, I always say that internally we have a lot of data to learn from and what we need to do to position the company to pick the right market for the audience who would love our ribs. And I still think that there is no place better for Tony Roma's than the United States. And I would like to, grow that unit count here in the US, in addition to globally, with the growth we are seeing.
Yeah, there's kind of a trend that I'm seeing emerging in this conversation already about kind of focusing on your core, what you know, what works. And in some seasons, particularly in a contraction season, that's the thing to do. You focus on what is working, and then you can try some of the new experiments in an expansion season, but it's not now. So today we're talking a lot about technology. And if I think about like restaurants, I think about art galleries, they're not necessarily tech businesses, but I know that you guys are both implementing technology in different ways, and we're all thinking about implementing technology in our businesses so we don't get our butts kicked with just everything that's happening. Mina, how are you integrating tech into the business? Because you're running the overarching brand and sort of the franchise owners are doing, to some extent, their own thing, but like how are you thinking about technology in the business?
Technology plays a vital role now. It goes back to, the footprint of a space, right? Based on what you were saying about the art gallery, we have the same thing for a restaurant. Restaurant like Tony Roma's used to be 10,000 square feet before because customers used to come in and dine in the restaurant. And now, because of technology, we have multiple sources of revenue. If you use the delivery apps properly, if you do catering online, there are just so many opportunities and doors that technology have opened for us. And opportunity means multiple revenue stream. And what happened, you rethink about the physical space, about the brick and mortar space. Do you really need a 10,000 square feet? Or will you be able to do it very well with a 3,000 square feet because you can keep your overhead costs down? So what technology is doing now, it's reducing the overhead cost. And the other example I can give you is training. We use AI-enabled platform for our new franchisees. So back in the days, let's say if the training was 8 weeks, we can cut it back to 6 weeks because we can give information that are current and that are AI enabled and user friendly for franchisees to use.
I think you told me about like a platform that you use to get all the communication to all of your franchisees, maybe like the Light Tree or something like that.
Correct.
Talk about like what the platform looks like that you're using to give everybody guidance on what to do.
So if you think of franchise training, it went through evolution, right? It used to be binders, to PDF, to SharePoint, to now AI-enabled platform.
SharePoint,
Yes. So AI-enabled platform, what it does, it allows my franchise partners from all over the world, from 5 continents, to log in and get access to the latest menu information, the recipes, marketing campaigns, and it's all real time because we're updating our platform. And we don't need to contact each franchisee to see that, hey, have you implemented this? Because we can communicate with them through this AI-enabled platform.
Yeah. Daisha, how are you integrating tech at your art gallery?
Well, I started using tech prior to opening the gallery. When I was laid off from my corporate job in finance, my respite was going to these spaces, to art galleries, institutions, museums, and I really recognized then that there was a lack of representation for us in these spaces, and how can we make art more accessible to the entire demographic of Dallas. And so going into these spaces, I just really felt compelled to challenge myself to lead with technology and innovation. And so during the pandemic, when everything was shut down and people were glued to their phones, I was learning how to integrate virtual galleries to my friends, to share that information and say, hey, this is the gallery I went to, this is the exhibition on view, this is how you purchase this piece. And so ArtLogic was a huge platform for me at that time. I even helped consult with galleries on formulating their own integration with technology because with the art gallery community, everything is still pretty much gate-kept, and it's very elitist. It's very much to the privileged, community. And so being transparent with pricing wasn't a thing for them. And so you would call these galleries and you would ask for a PDF list and they wouldn't have any idea what that, would look like. And so we created this virtual reality space for people to really engage with art and open it up. But now, because of the demographic that I particularly work with, these are first-time buyers, and so we remove a lot of that apprehension and anxiety of being in these spaces by providing QR codes. So all of our works are labeled with a QR code. They can scan it, it pulls up all of the artist's information, bio statements, the inventory of the work, and they don't have to ask, well, how much is this piece? You can actually click right there and purchase it. So we really want to be more transparent.
That's a big scary part of a lot of art gallery experiences where you're supposed to ask for the price list and see if you can afford it or not. And so the QR code you scan, okay, got it.
Yeah, and they love that, and I think it was gradually being integrated into our lives anyway. When we go out to restaurants, we're scanning the QR codes now. And so it was just a proper integration for me to add that to our gallery, but it also removes that the apprehension of asking those questions.
Do you use anything for a CRM to manage all your clients?
Oh, absolutely. Now, because I'm really focused on my analytics with my clients, we have tools that we do use to streamline those processes of, I want to know your birthday. I want to know your anniversary. I want to know how much you've invested in my artist. What right time is, good for you to buy? What time is not good for you to buy? Are you buying, globally? Are you buying local? So all of these data points that we've gathered just by, asking the questions, we have a great system now. So, and it also humanizes the experience for me because I can talk to my clients, but it gives me more of a focal point to kind of, divert to when I really need that data. And then also with our artists, it helps streamline their business. And so they have artwork archive where we inventory all of our artwork. We have all of our sales history, so my appraisers and my accountant has everything, streamlined in that area. So we definitely utilize it a lot more, and I'm really proud of the changes that we've made within our own community with AI and, all the things with the artists. They get very antsy about AI, but it's happening in real time. We want to create, a conversation around it. We also want to make sure that the authenticity of your work is protected. So
I want to talk a little bit about antsiness around technology, like you just mentioned. I was recently at a restaurant, it was an Ethiopian restaurant, and I scanned my QR code to get the menu. There's a little plaque in the middle of the table, and I look at the menu, the guy comes over, I give him my order, and as I'm eating, I was going in because it was really good, and as I'm eating, I can hear the woman behind me repeatedly asking for a menu, a paper menu. And the guy's trying to get her to do the QR code, and she just goes, I don't know how to do that. And it made me think about just sort of where we are, and it also made me think about kind of a few days earlier, I was on a family call. We do these family Zooms every other week with my family, and my aunt was telling me this story about how she got kind of freaked out because she was on Instagram and she was talking to someone, and at the top it says generated by AI, but she didn't really know what that meant, so she just kept talking to the person, and she started telling them about this trip that she has coming up to New York and where she was going to be, and she shared with them where she was going to stay, and then she got kind of scared because she was sharing all of her information, and she didn't know this person, so she went to look them up, and it turned out that they were not a real person. Generated by AI, she learned, means that it's not a person. But it made me think, because I'm in technology, and so I take these things for granted that people know, and there's a lot of people who are just maybe not quite comfortable yet, they're not feeling great, and the reality is if you run a small business, in some places, your customers may not be ready for some of the technology that you want to integrate. So I have a question for both of you. Mina, I'll have you go first, though. Who are your customers? You can describe who they are. And then part two of my question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how fearful or resistant would you say your customers are right now to technology being part of the customer experience?
So I'm going to divide up my customers into two groups.
Okay.
My constituency, firstly, are my franchisees, my franchise partners. And when it comes to robotics or AI, we don't have a one-size-fits-all. We want to make sure that they're comparable, because you can give the best solution in the world, but if the end user is not comparable, it will just stay there. Therefore, I have a trial period for my franchise partners to try out, let's say, the server robots. And depending on their comfort level in the first 28 days, we get those feedback, and then we decide, okay, if they're comfortable, they can implement it. If not, that's okay, because some of our franchise partners have been around for 40 years.
Wait a minute, what's server robots?
So it's basically robots that will, bring the food from the kitchen, from the back end of the house to the table.
It's like we're in the Jetsons. I love it. Okay, okay, got it.
Yeah. And some of my franchise partners have been around for 40 years. So I would like to, honor their viewpoint and don't want them to feel this is something that we're imposing.
Yeah.
Because that's a point where between a franchisor and franchisee, you need to have some form of unity in addition to maintain the brand standards.
Yeah. Okay.
So during that 28-day trial period, we assess whether a AI or a robotic solution would be suitable for a partner or not. There are some partners who love it. Others think that AI and robots are replacing human beings.
Yeah.
So I view that stage as when internet first came around, a lot of people were cynical, skeptical, to the point where now we cannot live without internet. So we're at that transition point with AI and robotics.
I don't know if you guys have seen that AI, that robot that is now out that you can buy to have at your home, and people have been talking about it on Threads and Twitter. You guys know what I'm talking about? And it's kind of soft in material, and people are like, what is this thing? And someone apparently is separately puppeting it because they're figuring out the technology. You guys know what I'm talking about? This is a thing now. We're here. Okay, so one of your customer types is the franchise owner, and they maybe are leaning. Where are they kind of leaning on the openness to technology? There's some openness. Maybe it's kind of in the middle. Where would you say they are?
We have a wide range of viewpoints because we're in 5 continents.
Okay, fair enough.
But all in all, I am seeing that people are interested. And their interest is coming from, will we be able to save cost?
Yeah.
So it's either convenience-driven or a cost-driven decision to embrace AI or robotics, at least in our industry.
Yeah. Okay, and then Daisha, how would you say, who are your customers, and where would you put them kind of a scale of 1 to 10 of openness to technology being part of the experience?
Well, historically, in the art community, it's been driven by old, white, wealthy men. But my demographic, they're millennials, they're Gen Zers. They're used to technology, and so it's a part of their everyday life. So it was an easy transition. We still keep hard copies of, works that we have in the gallery, but for the most part, it's very much driven by technology now. Whether it's on social media, organically, we have great numbers, and people are following and sharing on TikTok and YouTube, and they're coming in, and I'm allowing them to tell their stories on their platforms. It's easy for me because it saves me money in marketing. They're just so ingrained in what technology is driving and how they're building their own content for whatever they're doing, that it helps my business in the same vein. But I think they like the fact that it's not, they don't feel disconnected. They do feel connected to the gallery in a physical space to see the visual beauty of art. But if they want to purchase a piece in Hong Kong, they can. If they see me in Miami, they can purchase it, online. And so to have that immediacy is very much important to the longevity of my business.
Okay, so I want to end with a question about how you guys got started. So Daisha, how did you get your art gallery business funded when you got started?
That's a question.
That's a question.
I need the answer to that because I'm still waiting on it. I'm still waiting on it.
From customers,
Yeah, real talk. It's been bootstrapped. When I got laid off, I used my entire severance, our entire savings. My husband was delusional, thinking that, this was going to work, but I trusted my vision. I believed in my product. I believed in the artists in our community. They say you build it and people will come. And that's exactly what happened. People started spreading the word that there's a Black woman-owned art gallery here in Dallas that hasn't been here in over 30 years. And so with that support, it was just an amazing opportunity for me to really excel. Coming from finance and corporate America, I lived in a world where you have to constantly code switch. Here, I'm truly my authentic self. And I tell young business owners now, being who you are is the most liberating feeling in the world. There's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of ebbs and flows. I wish I had, the millions of dollars that a lot of these businesses get, but I didn't. So I work with what I have, but I build relationships. And for me, that's more powerful than anything. So the money will come, the capital will come, but oh yeah, we exhausted a lot of those accounts, building this dream. But it's worth it.
Did you end up using sort of debt funding? I know a lot of businesses will do that, particularly if you're bootstrapping. Was that a route that you took a lot of, a little bit of? How did that work?
Well, I had some investors that came in early on who wanted to be silent partners. And so it was more of gifts that they gave to the business than actual funding or investment for the return. But I think now that we're scaled back and we're looking to go into different markets, there's more of an opportunity with those people who wanted to invest early on. Now I have the money. Well, I have the profit and the margins to show that there has been some growth within the business. And so I didn't want to just come off of, there were times when we would go into the bank and they would ask, well, do you think Black people will buy art? Well, yeah, absolutely. Everyone should be able to be engaged with art or to afford art, but how can we make it accessible? So knowing all of my data points, knowing my investors, knowing the people who are truly supporting Daisha Board Gallery, that means more to me than anything.
Yeah. So Mina, I want to have you share a little bit about your story of how you got started, because you've got a really interesting trajectory that is maybe not common. I was sharing when I introduced you that you really are a good example of opening your mind to what is possible. Tell us what you were doing before, kind of rewind us a little bit, what you were doing before you were the CEO of Tony Roma's and how you got here.
I'm an attorney by profession, and I still practice law. I went to law school to become a lawyer, not to become a CEO, and I always say that. The way I found myself in Tony Roma's is I had a client in my law firm, and I worked on unrelated matters, litigation, immigration, and I was able to deliver a result, build trust, and then it was basically brought to me if I will do the due diligence of the acquisition of Tony Roma's. I did have some antitrust division work experience, so I knew, how to do this, but it wasn't like a regular part of my practice where I would do due diligence of stock purchase every day. And there were many big law firms, way bigger than mine, that were competing for this contract. But as a result of what I have delivered, although in different areas of law, I gained the trust of the client. And that trust is what basically brought me here today, where I'm leading the company. Before leading the company, I was looking after the legal department for 2 years, but I had to set my own terms and conditions, and one of them was I should be allowed to practice law because this is my business. I built it with my own hand, my law firm, and I did not want to give that up. Luckily, the board was amenable to that because Tony Roma is the size we have. The decision makers, the stakeholders we have are not that many. It might not be possible in any other context. There are always variables, but I think the moral of my story is always ask because you never know what they will give you. So we have to be bold enough to ask, and that's what I did. I negotiated my way, and I was given the liberty to practice law, which is something I foresee to practice until the end of my life. I didn't go to law school to become a CEO, but I also, love running Tony Roma's, a company with over 5 decades of history, spreading over 5 continents and dealing with issues because I'm a problem solver. So that's what I get to do in both my roles.
Yeah. There is a overarching sort of theme I'm hearing in both of you guys about being scrappy problem solvers who just ask for the thing that you need and like, let's see how it goes. And sometimes it works, sometimes you're expanding, sometimes you're contracting around that. But I'm hearing this boldness and this confidence that we talked a little bit earlier about being like a little bit delusional. Like it kind of takes that and you step into it, right? And you step into saying, hey, I've got community and I may not have all the dollars in the world, but like I'm gonna leverage what I got. There's people who wanna support me. I'm gonna step into that and be bold about that. Or I'm gonna step into, hey, I didn't necessarily intend to be CEO, that wasn't my path, but like if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna ask for what I need to make this true and I'm gonna step into that. There's a boldness and a scrappiness that I think we all are figuring out how to best lean into because that's what it takes. And I'm really grateful that y'all have come to share that and to share those stories. Can I have a round of applause for both of them?